The twin suns of Zyphera cast a soft, golden glow over the grand palace, their light reflecting off the silver spires and glass towers that stretched into the sky. The air was filled with the low hum of anti-gravity vehicles and the distant echoes of alien wildlife. Inside the palace, preparations for a historic wedding were underway. A ceremony that would unite the most powerful ruler of the Xylarian Empire with a human from the distant planet Earth. Queen Lysera of Zyphera was known across galaxies. She was tall, with luminous violet eyes and skin that shimmered faintly like starlight. Her reputation as a brilliant tactician and undefeated warrior preceded her. Many admired her, some feared her, but none dared challenge her. Yet now, despite all her power, Lysera felt a strange uncertainty. She was about to marry a human. Humans were known to the Xylarian Empire mostly through stories of their resilience and creativity. They were small and fragile compared to Xylarian standards, and they lacked advanced technology or the physical strength to survive in a harsh interstellar environment. To Lysera, they were fascinating but, in her mind, mostly harmless. Still, something about this particular human had caught her interest. Ethan Cole entered the grand hall quietly. He was nothing like the stories of heroes or powerful warriors that the Xylarian court expected. He was of average height, with brown hair and clear blue eyes that seemed to observe everything with careful attention. His posture was relaxed, almost casual, and he carried himself with a calmness that belied the importance of the occasion. "Your Majesty," he said politely, bowing slightly. "Thank you for welcoming me." Lysera studied him closely. She noticed the way he scanned the room, not with arrogance, but with curiosity. He noticed every detail, every subtle movement of the Xylarian courtiers, as if he were reading a complex puzzle. Yet, on the surface, he looked ordinary. He wore simple ceremonial clothes provided by the palace. Nothing like the ornate armor or robes of Xylarian nobility. "Do not mistake simplicity for weakness, human," Lysera said, her voice calm but firm. "This ceremony is not a game, it is a union of two worlds." Ethan smiled lightly. "I understand, Your Majesty. I will do my best." The courtiers whispered among themselves, some skeptical, some amused. They had expected the queen to choose a partner of great skill, someone who could stand beside her in battle or diplomacy. Yet here was a human who seemed ordinary. The ceremony began in the grand atrium, a massive space with glass walls overlooking the floating gardens below. Alien flora glowed softly in the evening light, and the air was scented with sweet fragrances from thousands of different planets. The priest, a tall figure with translucent skin and flowing robes, chanted ancient Xylarian words that reverberated through the hall. Lysera stood proudly, her gaze fixed on Ethan. She had chosen him not for strength or political advantage, but because of something she could not fully explain, a sense of balance, of quiet wisdom. And yet, she could not ignore the doubts that lingered in her mind. Could a human truly live among her people? Could he survive the challenges that came with being Queen's husband? As part of the ceremony, there was a test of unity. It was a tradition among the Xylarians for couples to face a series of trials. Not to prove love, but to prove compatibility, intelligence, and resourcefulness. Humans had never been subjected to these trials before, and many in the court expected Ethan to fail. The first trial was simple by Xylarian standards, navigating a labyrinth filled with shifting walls and light barriers. For a Xylarian warrior, this was easy. They had advanced senses and reflexes, but Ethan did not panic. He studied the patterns of the walls carefully, observed the timing of the light barriers, and moved with calm precision. Lysera watched in surprise. He did not run or rely on strength. Instead, he waited for the right moments, adjusted his path intelligently, and used tools around him to mark safe passages. Within minutes, he reached the center, where Lysera awaited. The courtiers murmured in disbelief. "You completed it," Lysera said, a hint of admiration in her voice. "You did not follow brute force. Yet you succeeded where many would fail." Ethan shrugged. "I just tried to think ahead. I did not want to make mistakes." The priest nodded in approval. "The human shows a mind that adapts. This is rare, even among our own. Next came the trial of communication. They were placed in separate rooms with alien machinery and holographic puzzles that required teamwork to solve. Lysara expected to guide him, to give instructions. But Ethan surprised her again. He asked questions, observed patterns, and suggested solutions that were unconventional but effective. One particular puzzle involved redirecting energy beams to unlock a door. The beams were unstable and dangerous, and Xylarian logic dictated a very strict method. Ethan, however, suggested combining two beams in a way that Xylarian rules would never allow. The door opened. Lysara's eyes widened. "Your thinking is unusual," she said, a faint smile forming on her lips. "Perhaps unusual," Ethan replied, "but sometimes unusual works better than what everyone expects." The final trial was the test of courage. They were taken to a simulated battlefield, filled with holographic enemies and environmental hazards. Lysara expected him to hesitate, to falter under pressure, but Ethan remained calm. He observed the simulated enemies, anticipated their moves, and guided their team through the challenge, with strategies that were both simple and brilliant. By the end of the trial, Lysara's respect for him had grown immensely. The courtiers were silent, many unable to hide their astonishment. For the first time, they saw a human not as weak, but as clever, adaptable, and capable of extraordinary things without strength or alien abilities. After the trials, they returned to the palace gardens. The twin suns were setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Ethan and Lysara walked side by side, the air filled with quiet tension and mutual curiosity. "You have surprised me," Lysara admitted, her usual pride softened by genuine admiration. "I expected a human to be fragile, limited. Yet you have proven otherwise." Ethan looked at her, calm and sincere. "I do not claim to be a warrior, Your Majesty. I only do what I can, with what I have. Strength is not always about power." Lysara studied him closely, realizing that his words carried truth she had never fully understood. Humans, in their simplicity, had a way of seeing solutions others missed. They were not strong like Xylarians, but they were clever, resilient, and courageous in ways that defied expectation. As night fell, the palace lit up with glowing orbs, and music from alien instruments filled the air. The wedding feast began, with delicacies from countless worlds. Yet Lysara found her mind wandering back to the trials, to the human beside her, who had shown more intelligence and courage in one day than many Xylarian nobles had in a lifetime. Even the most skeptical courtiers began to murmur their approval. The human had passed the impossible tests. He had not relied on alien technology, brute strength, or special powers. He had relied on his mind, his heart, and his ability to remain calm under pressure. For Lysara, the realization was both exciting and unsettling. She had married a human thinking he was ordinary, expecting charm or novelty. Instead, she had discovered something far more remarkable. She had discovered someone who could stand beside her, not in power, but in wisdom, courage, and integrity. That night, as the palace quieted and the stars shone above, Lysara and Ethan sat on a balcony overlooking the city. "Tell me," Lysara said softly, "what makes you so calm in the face of danger?" Ethan smiled faintly. "I guess I see problems as puzzles. I think if I can understand them, I can solve them. Panic doesn't help anyone. And sometimes, being ordinary is a strength. You notice things others miss." Lysara considered this, realizing how true it was. Humans, fragile though they seemed, had a resilience that could not be measured by strength alone. She felt a new kind of respect for the species she had once underestimated, and for the human who now sat beside her. Little did she know, this was only the beginning. The trials of the day were minor, compared to the challenges that awaited her kingdom and her husband. But she felt ready, confident in a way she had not felt before. For she had learned that even the most unassuming human could hold hidden strengths, strengths that could change the course of empires. And Ethan, calm and observant, was ready to face whatever came next, because he had a gift that even the most advanced alien species could not anticipate. The human mind. The palace of Zyphora was alive with activity. Servants moved swiftly, holographic projections illuminated the halls, and the soft hum of technology blended with the gentle rustle of alien plants. Life continued as usual for the queen and her court, but for Queen Lysara, nothing felt usual anymore. Her mind kept returning to Ethan. The human she had married, quiet, ordinary, and seemingly fragile, had exceeded every expectation. He had passed the trials not by strength, but by intelligence, observation, and careful thinking. Lysara had thought the tests were trivial for a Xylarian warrior like herself, but Ethan had completed them in ways even she could not anticipate. She found herself observing him during daily life, trying to understand what made him so remarkable. Ethan moved through the palace with ease. He greeted servants politely, asked questions about customs, and listened carefully to the answers. He showed genuine interest in learning about the Xylarian culture. But he did not blindly follow every rule. Instead, he noticed small patterns: how the palace guards rotated shifts, how messages traveled through the command network, even how the council members reacted in private conversations. One afternoon, Lysara observed him quietly while he was arranging the table for a royal dinner. He noticed that some of the palace utensils had a slight imbalance, and adjusted them with subtle corrections, making the process smoother for the staff. To any ordinary observer, this would have been trivial, but Lysara could see the human's mind at work. He noticed details others overlooked. "You have a careful eye," Lysara remarked as she entered the room. Ethan looked up, smiling faintly. "I just like things to work smoothly. Little problems can become bigger if they're ignored." She nodded, impressed. "You think ahead." "That is unusual for a human," Ethan shrugged. "Perhaps, but I believe anyone can do it if they pay attention." Their days were filled with lessons in culture, language, and diplomacy. Lysara introduced Ethan to her advisors, showing him how the empire was governed. She expected him to struggle, to appear out of place among the highly trained Xylarians, but he adapted quickly. He asked thoughtful questions, suggested alternative methods to improve communication between departments, and sometimes noticed errors that even the most experienced advisors overlooked. One morning, a minor diplomatic problem arose. A group of emissaries from a nearby planetary system had arrived with complaints about resource distribution. The advisors were ready to respond with strict protocols, following every legal step, but Ethan observed their arguments carefully, noticed the emotions behind their words, and suggested a simple solution: reallocate some resources in a way that benefited both sides and saved face for the Xylarian Empire. The advisors were skeptical at first, whispering among themselves, but when they saw the emissaries' reactions relieved, satisfied, and impressed, they realized the human had succeeded where complex bureaucracy had failed. Lysara's admiration grew. She had once believed that humans were clever but limited. Ethan proved that intelligence and problem-solving could take many forms, sometimes beyond the reach of even the most advanced alien minds. "Your solution was elegant," Lysara said later that day, privately. "You did not just follow rules. You understood people." Ethan smiled softly. "Rules are important, but sometimes understanding is more important. People respond to respect, not orders." Even the palace staff began to notice. Servants whispered among themselves about how Ethan seemed to anticipate problems before they occurred. He organized schedules efficiently, noticed when someone was tired or stressed, and suggested small ways to make the palace run more smoothly. His presence, calm and attentive, seemed to improve life for everyone around him. But not everyone was impressed. A few council members still doubted him. They expected him to fail eventually, thinking his human mind was too small to navigate the complexities of Xylarian politics and society. It was during a routine inspection of the palace's defense systems that Ethan's abilities truly began to shine. The Xylarians had advanced security technology, energy shields, automated drones, and surveillance networks. During the inspection, a small malfunction occurred. A security drone began malfunctioning, causing a chain reaction in the energy shields. Many advisors panicked, unsure how to correct the error without triggering a full lockdown. Ethan stepped forward calmly. He observed the pattern of the malfunction, identified the weak connection, and suggested a simple reroute of the energy flow. The advisors hesitated. Humans were not supposed to understand alien technology so quickly, but Ethan explained his reasoning clearly, step by step. To everyone's surprise, the system stabilized. The shields returned to normal, and the drone problem resolved without further incident. Lysara's eyes widened. "You fixed it," she said. "Without a single weapon or alien device?" Ethan nodded. "Sometimes it's just a matter of looking carefully and thinking logically. Panicking doesn't help anyone." 18. That evening, Lysara found herself sitting beside him in the palace gardens, watching glowing alien flowers sway in the gentle breeze. "You surprise me every day, Ethan," she admitted. "I thought I married an ordinary human, and yet, you are anything but ordinary." Ethan looked at her, his expression calm. "I am not special, Your Majesty. I just notice what others overlook and try to solve problems carefully. Humans have different strengths." She smiled, realizing that was exactly why she had been drawn to him. Humans might lack Xylarian strength or technology, but they had resilience, creativity, and insight. Traits that could rival the greatest warriors. Days passed, and Ethan's contributions grew more significant. He began to advise on palace logistics, planning events in ways that minimized waste and stress. He helped train junior courtiers in problem-solving, teaching them to think critically rather than blindly follow instructions. Even Lysara's most skeptical advisors began to acknowledge his value. One afternoon, a curious incident occurred. A delivery of alien artifacts had arrived from a distant planet, and many were delicate and complex. The couriers were unsure how to unpack them safely. Ethan observed the situation, noting the patterns in the crates and the potential risks. He devised a careful sequence for unpacking the artifacts, ensuring nothing was damaged. The couriers followed his instructions, amazed at how efficiently everything was handled. Most humans would have caused chaos, a Xylarian guard whispered to another. Yet, he manages it effortlessly. The palace began to see a shift. Where there had been doubt, there was respect. Where there had been skepticism, there was curiosity. The human husband of the queen had begun to show that strength was not only physical, but also mental and emotional. Lysara continued to be amazed by him. She noticed how he treated people with kindness. Even when they made mistakes, he did not demand obedience or recognition. He simply worked quietly, improving life for everyone around him. It was a type of strength that she had rarely seen among her own people. One evening, as they walked through the floating gardens under the twin moons, Lysara spoke quietly. "You make me wonder. If humans are so clever, why have they not spread among the stars already?" Ethan laughed softly. "We have our own challenges, Your Majesty. But we adapt. We survive. And sometimes, we find ways to do more than anyone expects." Lysara nodded thoughtfully. She realized that the human beside her was not only adapting to a strange new world but also teaching it something new. He was a bridge between worlds, showing that even a single human could have a profound impact on a civilization far older and more advanced than his own. As the days continued, subtle tests of his abilities came naturally. He solved logistical problems, prevented minor crises, and even helped train Xylarian scholars in creative thinking. Each time, he succeeded in ways no one expected. His calm presence, intelligence, and careful observation brought solutions where confusion and conflict had once ruled. For Lysara, it became clear that she had married not an ordinary human, but a partner of rare strength, the kind that did not need weapons or armor to influence the world. And for Ethan, the challenges of living among aliens had only made him more confident in his abilities. He understood that humans could achieve remarkable things when they relied on ingenuity, patience, and courage. One morning, news arrived from the outer sectors of Zyphora. A distant outpost had requested assistance with a trade negotiation. The council debated who should handle it. Expecting a seasoned Xylarian diplomat, Lysara looked at Ethan, curious. "You should go," she said. "I think this will test your skills in a new way." Ethan blinked. "Me? But I am just a human." "Just a human?" Lysara asked, smiling. "No. You are more than that. You see solutions others do not. You understand people in ways most cannot. This is your strength. Use it." He nodded thoughtfully. He had faced palace trials, learned the ways of the Xylarians, and proven himself in small crises. Now, he would face a challenge that tested not only his mind, but also his understanding of diplomacy, culture, and leadership. As he prepared to leave for the outpost, Lysara felt a mixture of pride and anticipation. She realized that the human she had once believed ordinary was already shaping the Empire in ways she had never imagined, and this was only the beginning. Ethan's journey among the Xylarians had begun with curiosity and quiet observation. Now, it was clear that his human strengths, adaptability, intelligence, and empathy would soon leave a mark that even the mightiest Xylarian warriors could not ignore. And Lysara, the alien queen of Xiphora, could no longer see him as ordinary. She knew that when the true challenges came, he would reveal his full strength, and the Empire would be forever changed. The outpost on the edge of Xiphora's system was a bustling hub of activity. Ships landed and took off. Cargo moved swiftly, and messages from distant colonies traveled through secure channels. For the Xylarian Empire, it was a small but vital part of maintaining peace and trade. And now, Ethan Cole, the human husband of Queen Lysara, was about to face his first major test beyond the palace walls. When he arrived, the outpost leaders greeted him with curiosity. Humans were rare in the outer sectors, and most had only seen them in stories or brief diplomatic visits. They had expected a Xylarian envoy to handle the trade negotiations, someone trained in protocol and political tactics. Instead, they found a calm human observing everything carefully, taking notes, and asking questions with quiet intelligence. Ethan quickly assessed the situation. The outpost had received conflicting requests from two neighboring planets. One wanted priority access to resources, while the other demanded guarantees for safety and fair trade. Past envoys had struggled, as the differences were not only about resources but also about culture, tradition, and pride. He spent the first day walking through the outpost, speaking with administrators, traders, and guards. He asked simple questions. What was the biggest challenge? What caused frustration? What had been tried before? Each answer added pieces to a puzzle that seemed impossible to solve at first glance. By the evening, he had a plan, but it was unconventional. Instead of relying on authority or strict rules, Ethan proposed a method that encouraged cooperation. He suggested sharing responsibilities in ways that highlighted each planet's strengths. He proposed a joint system for monitoring shipments and ensuring fairness. Most importantly, he recommended a regular meeting where representatives could voice concerns, building trust instead of relying solely on contracts or orders. The leaders were skeptical. "Humans are not trained in our customs," one of the planetary delegates argued. "How can we trust him to handle this?" Ethan smiled calmly. "I may not know every custom, but I understand people. If we respect one another and work together, we can find a solution that benefits everyone." They agreed, tentatively. Over the next 2 days, Ethan facilitated discussions, listened carefully to disputes, and guided the representatives to compromise without dictating terms. Whenever a problem arose, he suggested creative solutions that no one had thought of. When tensions rose, his calm demeanor and simple, logical explanations eased the conflict. By the third day, the negotiations concluded successfully. Both planets agreed to the terms, satisfied with the fairness and clarity of the agreements. The outpost leaders were amazed. The human had solved a diplomatic problem that had confounded Xylarian envoys for decades. Word of Ethan's success traveled quickly back to the palace. Lysara received the report and smiled, though she was not surprised. She had known that the human she had married had abilities beyond appearances. But it was gratifying to see others recognize his value as well. Ethan returned to Zyphora, greeted warmly by Lysara and the palace staff. The experience at the outpost had strengthened his confidence and reinforced his belief that humans could achieve great things through intelligence, empathy, and careful thinking. "Tell me," Lysara asked as they walked through the palace gardens, "how did you manage to convince them? They were so stubborn, so sure they could not compromise." Ethan looked thoughtful. "I listened first. I tried to understand their priorities and fears. I showed them that cooperation was better than conflict. It wasn't about me being clever. It was about finding a solution that everyone could trust." Lysara nodded. "It is a strength the Xylarian Empire has seldom seen in outsiders. And yet, you did it without any weapons, without authority, without fear." He smiled faintly. "Strength can take many forms. Sometimes, the strongest choice is patience and understanding." The palace itself soon faced a different kind of challenge. A major festival was approaching, celebrating the unity of planets within the Xylarian Empire. It was a time of grandeur, diplomacy, and complex planning. Normally, the festival required months of preparation, involving hundreds of coordinators and careful scheduling. Mistakes could lead to embarrassment, strained relations, or logistical chaos. Lysara turned to Ethan. "I think this is your next test," she said. "Can you help organize it? I trust your judgment." Ethan agreed. He began by observing the festival preparations, noting small inefficiencies that had gone unnoticed for years. He suggested subtle changes: how to arrange seating to reduce confusion, how to communicate schedules more clearly, and how to ensure that dignitaries from different planets felt welcomed and respected. The festival was a success. Attendees from countless worlds commented on the smooth organization and thoughtful details. No one realized that a human had been behind the improvements, quietly guiding the event to perfection. Lysara, however, knew. She had witnessed his careful attention to detail, his ability to anticipate problems, and his talent for inspiring others to cooperate. "Once again, you have exceeded my expectations," she said privately that evening, as they walked under the glowing lights of the palace gardens. Ethan smiled. "I only did what seemed logical, but I am glad it worked." Lysara took his hand, feeling pride and admiration. She realized that strength was not always visible. It was not only in physical ability, weapons, or technology. True strength could be found in insight, creativity, and the ability to face challenges with patience and understanding. As the weeks passed, Ethan continued to demonstrate his abilities in countless ways. He mediated disputes among advisors, suggested improvements to trade routes, and helped train young courtiers in strategy and problem-solving. Everywhere he went, he quietly earned respect, not through force or authority, but through intellect, empathy, and courage. Yet the ultimate test awaited him. The palace's war council had issued a challenge, curious to see if this human could survive the palace's training grounds. These grounds were legendary, filled with complex puzzles, simulations, and environmental challenges designed to test even the most elite Xylarians. Many assumed Ethan would fail, but Lysara believed otherwise. On the day of the challenge, Ethan entered the training grounds calmly. He observed the obstacles carefully. Shifting platforms, holographic mazes, and simulated adversaries. Where others might panic or rely on strength, he used careful planning and observation. He noted patterns, predicted outcomes, and adjusted his strategies in real time. The simulated adversaries were formidable, designed to test reflexes, intelligence, and adaptability. Yet Ethan did not fight them with weapons. He used clever maneuvers, timing, and insight to navigate each scenario. He anticipated obstacles, improvised solutions, and remained calm even when unexpected events occurred. Observers watched in astonishment. The human, seemingly ordinary and unarmed, moved through challenges with precision and confidence. He solved puzzles that stumped trained warriors, found shortcuts that no one had noticed, and reached the final stage without error. At the end of the test, Lysara approached him. Her violet eyes reflected admiration and awe. "You have done what many Xylarians could not," she said softly. "You have proven that strength is not only physical, but also mental, emotional, and strategic. You are extraordinary." Ethan shook his head gently. "I do not feel extraordinary. I only try to see clearly, think carefully, and act wisely. Strength is not about showing power. It is about solving problems and helping others." Lysara smiled, realizing that this was exactly the kind of strength her empire needed. Humans might appear ordinary at first glance, but their minds, resilience, and courage could surpass expectations and even change civilizations. The War Council, initially skeptical, formally recognized Ethan's abilities. They acknowledged that his human approach, calm, thoughtful, and empathetic, offered solutions that raw power alone could not achieve. In that moment, the human husband of the alien queen became a symbol of hope and ingenuity. A living example that even the most unassuming individuals could achieve greatness. News of his achievements spread across the empire. Colonies, outposts, and neighboring planets began to view humans with newfound respect. Lysara watched as the story of her husband inspired others to rethink the value of different strengths, the importance of intelligence, and the potential of cooperation over competition. One quiet evening, Lysara and Ethan stood together on a balcony overlooking the city. The twin moons cast silver light on the towers, reflecting the calm and beauty of the empire. "You have changed everything," Lysara said. "Not with weapons, not with power, but with your mind and heart. I underestimated you, and I am proud to be by your side." Ethan smiled, holding her hand. "I only did what I could, but I am glad it helped. Perhaps humans can learn from Xylarians, and Xylarians can learn from humans. Together, we can achieve more than either of us could alone." For the first time, Lysara felt a sense of complete confidence in the future. Her empire was strong, but now it had something greater: partnership, understanding, and a human who had shown that courage and intelligence could rival the mightiest powers in the galaxy. And so, the alien queen of Zephora and her human husband stood together, united not only by marriage, but by respect, trust, and shared purpose. The empire looked on, inspired by the story of the ordinary human who had revealed extraordinary strength. The stars above seemed to shine brighter that night, as if acknowledging that humanity had arrived not through force, but through courage, insight, and the power of the mind. Ethan had proven himself. The alien queen had learned a truth she would never forget. Never judge a human by appearances, for their true strength often lies hidden, waiting for the right moment to shine. And in that moment, the galaxy knew that the human mind could be as powerful as the most advanced alien technology, and that even the most ordinary individual could achieve the extraordinary.